Thanks for joining me today. Got the little Fiat 500 here. Now then, we've got the rear brakes on it are worn out. The wheels jam in every now and again, so I'm thinking the linings might have come off of the shoes and jamming the back hub up there. So I think we're going to need new brake linings in the back. Also the front brakes, the discs are all corroded, so we're going to change the front brake discs as well. So there's going to be two videos, one for the rears, which is this one, and then one for the fronts, which will be following. So yeah, let's crack on. Let's get these rear brakes stripped down. So we pop the car in gear before we release the handbrake. Okay, first thing we're going to do is come inside here, and we've got the handbrake. Now we're going to have to release the adjuster on the handbrake, so it makes it easy to get the rear drums off. So inside here below this cover there's a little 10mm bolt, so we'll pop that up with a screwdriver. Under the back here we'll just get the screwdriver in, get that out of the way, and just below the handbrake here there's this little plastic you just put your finger in and pull that up like that. Release that. This whole thing then lifts up at the back and slides forward and comes out of its locator like that, revealing the handbrake adjuster here. We'll wind that right back. So we'll literally just wind that right back so it's nice and loose. Beautiful. We'll put the jack under, we'll get it under the spring hanger, pop the centre cap off the wheel, and then we can take the wheel off. We've got a locking wheel nut kit there. These are 17mm wheel nuts. I've got my Milwaukee impact one there, which is absolutely amazing. We'll just whiz this wheel straight off. If you haven't got the impact gun, you'll have to leave the wheel on the ground and just use a breaker bar to crack these off. Pop that wheel off there. And we can drop that under the car just as a bit of safety there. If you haven't got an axle stand, that'll stop it dropping to the floor. 12mm socket. We're going to use this to remove these two lugs. Now these are serving two purposes. They hold the drum on and also locate the wheel so that you get it on and it holds it in place so it's all lined up nicely. Nice copper hammer. See how they come straight off the linings, and what happens is they both go round and get jammed up inside here, and it jams the drum and stops it from turning. You've got a little bit of scoring inside there, but we can clean that up with a bit of emery cloth and we'll be absolutely fine. While we've got this off, this is your wheel cylinder here. This is fluid, pushes these little pistons out, which forces the shoes out there, makes them move and push against the inside of the drum. These can leak through the seal, so we'll pull those back, and you can see that there, there's fluid in there. That's brake fluid there, look, dribbling out. So we're going to have to replace this. So we'll replace the wheel cylinder, new shoes. Job's a good one. Wheel bearing's okay though, that feels nice. So if you're struggling to remove this drum, what you can use is some of these M8 bolts, 17mm head on them. You can get those into the threads where the two locating pins are. This is a larger thread than what the locating pin has, and it actually goes into the drum. You can then wind it in and it actually forces it off as it pushes the bolt out the back. So it's a really easy way of getting the drum off if it's stuck on. I'll pop another link in the description for some new brake shoes on Amazon. Right, so this is your brake drum brake shoe assembler. This is what you get. So as you can see there at the top, you've got the adjuster bar there. This is the adjuster bar, and there's a threaded wheel just here. On the back of the threaded wheel, there's the self-adjusting lock. So you've got the bottom spring goes between those 2 points there.
you've got the top spring goes from the adjuster bar into the end of that shoe there at the top. The top spring goes from the top 2 points there all the way across the top of the adjuster bar, and then you've got the little lock spring there, which is for the self adjuster, which holds this little threaded bar against this shoe here, and that clips into there. So as far as all of that goes, oh, and the one bit that you'll probably want to see, which is easy to get put in the wrong way around, is this little bar here. What that does, it presses this flexible plate at the back, this spring plate, which works the adjuster. So I'll show you how it all works. We'll go through it all. Let's get rid of this top spring so it doesn't keep pinging back up like that. Again, undoing these springs on the car, the easiest thing to use is a pair of side cutters, because you can really grab hold of these springs. You can pinch them and pull them. If you're using pliers, the pliers tend to slip. Let me see if I can just get this one out without it twazzing on me. It's a bit odd because it's not actually attached to the car, so it's probably more difficult doing it like this than it is on the car. If I can get in there and just pull that back. Oh, it's tight now. This is fun, isn't it? Oh, we love messing about. Oh. Cool, somebody's not had the spinach. Oh, there we go. That's out of there. Okay. Righty. Now you can see how the adjuster's separated there. So let's pop that out of there. Let's put that up there. This is your wheel cylinder. This sits in there on the car. It's obviously that way up, but it sits in the gap between the two shoes. This is fixed at the bottom. As you press your brake pedal, it forces out the pistons on the cylinder, which makes the brake shoes move apart and squeeze into the inside of the drum, putting your brakes on. So as you can see, every time you put your foot pedal on, every time you press your foot brake, it pushes these apart, which forces a gap in that adjuster there. Now then, because it's got the spring plate on the back, if it goes out far enough, it'll click and move that wheel. See how the wheel's turning? That's the adjuster slowly turning and self-adjusting these shoes into the size of the drum until it'll get to a point where it's only moving backwards and forwards a little bit, and it won't turn anymore. So when it gets to a point there, it'll turn and adjust the shoes out slightly. So that's how the self-adjuster works. The handbrake is on a very similar, it's on this lever arm. It's a similar thing. It just, as this lever arm moves apart, this spring is the one that's actually pulling the handbrake arm back. So as you pull the handbrake on, it pulls, the cable's attached to this arm at the bottom, and all it's doing is just making that, pushing that gap bigger there and forcing that onto the inside of the drum. So again, really simple stuff. Really simple. Keep your eye out for this little pivot at the top. Make sure it's not seized up. That'll give you your poor handbrake efficiency. You can drop some lubricant on that and just work it, and it will free off. But yeah, it's one thing to look out for.
Now it is possible to remove these brake shoes with the hub still in place, but it is tricky. The best thing to do is to remove the hub. Now I'll show that a bit further on in the video. So for now, I'll carry on with this, and I'm going to remove these brake shoes with the hub still in place. I'll show you how tricky it is, and then I'll show you how to do it with the hub removed and how much easier that is.
Okay, so first thing we're going to do is release these retaining clips here, which is basically, you put your finger on the back of the pin that goes through the middle, put your pliers on it, you push and twist, and it will pop off, and it's a clip with a spring in it. So, and it's just like an elongated hole there. So do this one both sides. So we'll do the same with that one. Pop that one off. The pins will push through and come out the back if you want them to. Looking something like that. I'll get that one out in a minute. Now what we're going to do is get this pliers again. We put it on the bottom. This pliers we put it on the bottom and we lever it out on the spring there, push it across, and same with that side, just to pop it out of there. Now we can release this bottom spring. I like to use the side cutters, just you get a good grip on the spring. He's always a bit of fiddler, the old rear shoes. We grab hold of that spring there and just push it across and pull it out there like that. That's the bottom spring out. You always remember which way around these go and which bit they hook into. So that's the bottom one out. We can now pull that round there. We've got the handbrake cable is going through here as well, so we've got to try and get this out of the way so we can slide that out. On this model, this adjuster isn't going to come past, the gap isn't big enough, so we're going to have to remove this top spring as well while it's all in situ, which means we're going to have to pull that across like that. There's another spring clip there, which we can push that through with a pair of pliers. So that's going across that and through the back there. We'll have this big one out of the way now as well, which is on the top one there. So that one's out, look. And now we should be able to just pull that one, push that one through there. Just relieve it of its duties. Actually, that whole pin there will come away. Get a screwdriver on the top of that spring there and push that through.
Try not to stab yourself.
That's that one out there. Drop that down then. And again with the handbrake cable there, the best thing to do with that is get your pliers, stick it through the spring, push it, pinch it, and then pop it out like that, and then let that go.
Like I say, learn from my mistakes, because it's far easier to do this job with this hub removed, and it's quite simple to remove it if you've got a nice big socket. You take that dust cap off the end there, just give it a little tap and it'll pop off. Just work your way around it, and eventually you should just get that out, it'll ping off. Here it comes. Nearly there. And you're left with this big nut here.
32mm.
You could do this with a big breaker bar, but I'm going to bang it in the impact gun. I'll just whiz that off there. And now you can just literally slide that off, and it gives you so much more room. Look, it makes the whole thing more accessible. It's far easier. So let's go to the other side. And now you can see we've got the whole brake shoe assembly all in one piece with all the springs attached, and we can now remove them and break this down while it's in situ. With all that extra room, it makes life so much easier. We'll pop the handbrake cable out there, look, and now we can do this on the floor. So we'll remove the top left spring, pop that out of there, and then we'll fit the new shoe in place. Doing it this way as well, you are kind of stand a lot less chance of getting the springs muddled up and that, because you are doing it as you go along. You're not sort of getting a tub full of bolts and springs and then having to put it all back together again. So there we go, look, we can drop the new one in there. We can wind that adjuster back even more. And then just keep swapping these springs over. It's always worth just taking a picture of your brake shoes before you start to strip them down. Just snap a shot with your phone, just so again you can be sure where all your springs and your clips are going. because there's quite a few, and it is easy to get them muddled up and then just think, was it in that hole, was it in this hole? But if you do it, like I say, as you go along and just take a little picture of them before you take it out, you can actually see what's going on. Again, you could make life a bit easier for yourself if you put these shoes into a vise. You could clamp one of the shoes in there, and it just gives you a bit more stability when you're pulling and tweaking springs and stuff. I'll put links in the description for everything in this video, so all the tools and everything that are being used, the links for everything will all be in the description. So like I said, when I took this apart, the wheel cylinders were leaking, and I'm going to make a completely separate video on replacing those. So let's get this assembly back onto the hub. Now we've got our shoes that are all built up with the springs attached. We can pull that handbrake cable back and slot it in there, and now we can easily put this back together. So I've just switched over to the other side. The camera was slightly better positioning, and we'll go for refitting these new shoes back in, then we'll pop the hub assembly back on again. Like I say, I've tried to break this video down a little bit because it would have been really long if I'd have showed the replacement of the wheel cylinders all in one video. So I've broke it up a little bit, and the videos for the brake wheel cylinders on the rear will be to follow. So if you need to change yours, then just follow the links in the video at the end, and you'll be able to get to those other videos. So let's get this brake shoe retaining spring clip back together again. We push that through from behind, then we get the little retainer on the front there, hold it with the pliers, push it through, twist, and away you go. And we'll do the same with the other side. We'll just push that little retaining clip through the back. Bingo. Get the spring on there and get the little twist retainer on the top. A little push and twist, and we can centralise that. Just give it a little tap, try and get it all in the middle, all lined up. We'll give that hub sort of shaft a bit of a clean, and then we can pop the hub assembly back on again. Got the little washer there to go on first. We'll give that a little, just get the dust off it, give it a quick wipe. Slide that on nicely, and then get the hub and drop that straight on again. And there's another washer on the top there. We'll make sure that's in. Locate that, make sure it goes right the way home, and then we can pop the big nut on the end, and we'll waz that up nice and tight, really tight. 280 Newton meters tight. And then we can just bang a dent into the lock tab there, top and bottom. We'll give the dust cap a quick wipe, and then we'll pop that back on again. Keeping everything nice and clean. We don't need to be greasing this bearing, it's a sealed bearing, so we've got no issues with having to grease it up. Just make sure that goes all the way on. So we'll drop over to the other side again, purely for the camera angles, but what we're going to do now before we put this brake drum back on again is just give it a clean and take the lip off it. So there's this wear lip all the way around the inside. You could use a file, you could use an angle grinder. I'm going at this with the Milwaukee sander look, and I'm just going all the way around the outside of that, taking that lip off so that we can get this to slip on nice and easy, and it'll adjust up. Look how clean that is now. There's no lip now around the outside of that, and that'll just slide straight on, making the adjustment far easier. Exactly the same with the other side. We just drop over there and slip that one on, and we can just turn the adjusting wheel on these brake drums just to tweak it up a bit. Just get the screwdriver in there, rotate the adjuster, and what we're looking for is when we put the drum on, we just need it to be rubbing very, very gently. A little bit of resistance there, not a lot, just a small amount of resistance. So it still turns nice and easily, but you can just feel a very, very slight resistance there.
Okay, that's there now. So let's get this back on again.
What we're looking for is when we're putting this drum back on, we want to line up the holes for the locating pins to go through. So the wheel lugs have got to line up, and also then the two little screw plugs here, the pins that we're going to put in to hold everything in place just while we until we've done them up. Just nip them up nice and tight. These are only going up a small amount, I'm not too mad with them. So that's up nice and tight. We'll drop the wheel back on again and just whiz the wheel bolts up.
And we come back inside. You can see the handbrake is off the scale at the minute. So let's get the socket on that. And wind that up. Just keep trying it as you go. You want about 6 clicks. One, two, three, four. Yeah, that feels good to me. We can drop this console back in again. Just locate it in. Drop the little nut back on there. And then pop the cover back in. Job's good, un. Yeah, so there it is. We're all good to go. If it's been of use to you, if you've enjoyed it, if you've learnt something, drop me some comments, drop me a little thumbs up, like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.